What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbert here with Rob Mazika, taking a look at tonight's NBA slate. 6 games, monster totals tonight, everything over 200. Basically, all but one game over 210. So, I mean, should be pretty high scoring night, especially with all the value out there.
Yeah, I absolutely love this slate tonight, man. This could be a fun one. Bunch of high scoring games. There's players you could target in just about every game. The only game that's going to be tough to target, I think, is the Oklahoma San Antonio one. And there's a couple blowout risks with Houston playing Sacramento. Sacramento, I think it's fifth game in 6 nights or something like that. So there's just a couple of things to be aware of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they still, you look at that, Houston 12-point favorites, so not all that bad. But yeah, you and I were talking before the show. It just seems like that's one where the blowout is probably the most concerning.
Yeah, and then we got some huge values tonight. We got Julius Randle, who's going to be out. We got Jokic, who's going to be out. Moody is questionable. Derrick Rose is going to be out. Just all these guys, Cantor's out. They're going to open up values on all these teams, and it's going to be really easy to find values at pretty much every position tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, point guard, you got two immediate values right off the bat. I mean, if Emmanuel Mudiay sits out again, you're obviously looking at Jameer Nelson, who's been just a premium value guy for the last few games now, and also just in a plus matchup of, the second highest total on the night.
Yeah, that game's my favorite of the night, the Denver Lakers game. Jameer Nelson's a great way to get cheap exposure to it. He's 5,100 on FanDuel, and he's basically a sure thing at 5x value in a matchup against the Lakers, who aren't even really that great against defending pretty much anything.
Yeah, and you look at his price, I mean, it's come up a little bit, but still not to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, he's not quite value. I mean, he's still below 6K on both sides.
Yeah, he's still cheap, and he's 500 cheaper than Brandon Jennings, who is the other standout value of the night. With Derrick Rose out, they're facing Washington, and it's going to be Jennings against John Wall. But typically when Rose is out, we just plug and play Jennings, right?
Yeah, I am. I mean, even though it's a down matchup, I mean, Wall, decent defender. Washington's been pretty good against point guards, but at that price tag, I mean, we've seen Jennings, in the 6 games that Rose has been out, I mean, averaging 15, 4, and 6. So he's been really solid. Should see a usage rate around 20%. I'm really looking at him and Melo only from that Knicks team right now.
Same here, and I have a little interest in Courtney Lee as well. Thing is, they're coming off a 4 overtime game the other night, and I mean, their minutes might be down a little bit, but at their prices and in their spots with the usage you're going to get, they're still decent plays.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that really, outside of that, I mean, I don't really have any interest in guys like Darren Collison, Patrick Beverley, just because Nelson and Jennings are right there.
Yeah, I have a little interest in Jordan Clarkson, though. He's the same price as Jameer Nelson on FanDuel. They're both 5,100. I wouldn't suggest pivoting from Nelson to Clarkson unless Moody is, good to go. But Clarkson, he's been hitting his 5X for the last 5 games, 6 of the last 8. He's a safe bet for at least 25 fantasy points with upside to about 35. So it's a good spot, and that's my favorite game of the night.
Yeah, definitely. And, moving on up the list here, that Charlotte-Portland game obviously features 2 high-usage backcourts. Both Lillard and Kemba are in play for me tonight.
Same here. I stacked both these guys against each other 2 weeks ago when they played. It didn't really work out, but it could be a different story again when they're in Portland this time around.
Yeah, we didn't really see the ceiling from both those guys. I mean, they put up decent games, but it wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, and they're both really good offensive players and not the best defensive players, so they could go back and forth.
Definitely. And Drew Holiday, I have a little bit of interest in. You look at him and Davis have pretty severe home road splits, which is why they're just GPP only for me tonight. But obviously, if that game's going to stay close, New Orleans, basically that usage is just funneled through Holiday and Davis. And I like the way Holiday's playing of late.
Yeah, he's been playing well. Like you said, the only concern I have is those home road splits. But in the matchup against Toronto, if it could stay close in a high-scoring game, I have a lot of interest.
Definitely. And I like John Wall tonight. I know the price is high, but I don't mind using him. I mean, he's absolutely been crushing of late.
Yeah, John Wall's the pay-up option. And then Westbrook, he's amazing, but he's 12,200. The thing with him, though, you're going to get him at a lot lower ownership than you would normally get him. So I could see playing him in a tournament, but if he doesn't get you a 60, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, that's the only real issue with me. And I, there are a couple of guys like Cousins, like Davis, like Wall, who are just a little bit cheaper, who, could kind of match his type of scoring.
Yeah, they're cheaper prices, and they have the same upside right now, too.
Yeah, definitely. Moving to shooting guard, obviously James Harden up there. You and I are kind of talking. DeMar DeRozan, too expensive for us to really look at.
Yeah, he's very shot dependent, and he's only hit his value 3 times in the last 15 games on FanDuel, and I just can't use a guy who's doing that.
I can't either. I mean, one, there's a good price difference on DK, but I still don't like him. I mean, I prefer Nicholas Batum. He's a guy who kind of does it across the board, good peripheral numbers, and a little bit cheaper as well.
Yeah, and the revenge game narrative, going back to Portland where he spent 7 years of his career, I think he's going to be motivated to play and trying to get that triple double. He's typically a cash game play for me, but tonight with the narrative, he has the upside in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a guy who can, throw up a triple double on any given night. A guy you like, Bradley Beal, 6,800 on DK. I believe what's he got on FanDuel.
7,200 over there.
Yeah, you like him a little bit
He's
tonight.
7K. But I like him a lot just because he's facing the Knicks, the fourth worst team in the league at defending shooting guards. And this is a game where Beal and Wall, they pretty much could carry the load for this Washington team tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I like Washington quite a bit. I mean, 1 through 5, I think they're all in great spots. And we get a pretty big drop off in terms of a price difference. I mean, Norman Powell's up there, but obviously he's not in play anymore. Victor Oladipo, we haven't really seen a lot of effort out of him in terms of fantasy production. Lou Williams on DK, I like quite a bit, 5,500. Obviously, he gets a bigger bump if D'Angelo Russell is out tonight. I mean, if that's the case, he's just going to be a lock then.
Actually, D'Angelo Russell just said he's starting tonight. So,
well, then I'll just go with myself.
But I mean, even with Russell starting though, Lou Williams on DraftKings, his price it's a decent price for him, and he could come off the bench and score 30 real points. But FanDuel 6,200, I'm not touching him.
Yeah, a little expensive there. Now, kind of more suited for a GPP role on DK.
Yep. Going down, I like the Denver backcourt. Well, there's shooting guards, Will Barton and Gary Harris. They're both 5K, same matchup, same position. It's basically a dice roll, but as of right now, it's been trending that Gary Harris has been getting more run, so I'm going to lean towards him.
Yeah, I definitely am too. Gary Harris is kind of my preferred option out of the group just because the minutes have been a little bit safer, even though he has kind of put up a couple duds of late. But you said Courtney Lee, you like Garrett Temple. I know you liked as well as far as other cheap guys.
Yeah, Courtney Lee with Derrick Rose out. I mean, not including the 4 overtime game against Atlanta where he actually played amazing if you watch that game. But he's had over 30 fantasy points in the last 2 games, one against Charlotte, one against Dallas, which are okay matchups. But in an up-paced matchup with Washington, there's going to be opportunities for him to score.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think now with, Lou Williams being kind of a downgrade, Jordan Clarkson, who's shooting guard eligible on DK, you're kind of looking at some other cheaper options.
Yep, and then Temple, he's basically just a safe bet for 18 to 24 fantasy points every game.
Yeah, definitely. And Nick Young, now it's kind of the crowded backcourt. Are you off of him?
Yeah, maybe a shot on like 1 of 10 teams, but I'm pretty much off him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, adding in all those guards, it kind of cuts into each other's ceilings.
Yep, he could just come into a game and hit 6 threes, but you just never know with that freaking guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who definitely does have to run hot. Moving over to small forward, Carmelo Anthony is a guy that I'm looking at quite a bit. I love that DK price. I mean, 7,500, a little more expensive, but with Rose out, he gets a usage bump, and I'll be looking at him basically in cash and GPPs.
I like him. I even like him on FanDuel where he's priced 8,500. Never Mellow in cash. Don't ever play him in cash. Trust me, it doesn't work out. If it does work out, it's still not the right play. But Melo, he's a guy. He's going to take probably 25 shots in this game. He hits half of them. It's going to probably be around 30 points. And then if he can get a couple of rebounds and assists and maybe a couple of steals here and there, he'll hit his value.
Yeah, this guy's done pretty well against Washington as well. I mean, averaging 26, 6 and 2 in 2 meetings. Basically going to, as usual, carry the load offensively. But there are also a lot of guys in that range. I mean, I don't mind Otto Porter as a GPP guy. He's a guy who just kind of has those random big games for Washington at times, but not a cash game guy for me.
Not for me either. I mean, he plays a lot better at home, which is where they are. And he leads the NBA in three-point shooting still, but the volume isn't very high, and he really needs to get some steals to really crush his value.
Yeah, definitely. So I just kind of see him more as a pivot away from probably Gallinari, but not one that I'll be really looking to make who's in a great spot tonight.
Yep. Speaking of Gallinari, though, he's actually one of my favorite plays in the day. He's 7K over on FanDuel, but he gets a big usage bump with Jokic off the floor and Moody off the floor. In the same matchup, he put up 30 fantasy points in 39 minutes, but that was with, Jokic healthy. But the last two games, he's had over 35, which would be 5x. And in a matchup against the Lakers, my favorite game of the night, I'm probably going to have a lot of exposure to Gallinari.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, great price on both sides. I really don't mind the 7K price tag on FanDuel. Wilson Chandler, it was a guy I was looking at a lot last time. I mean, maybe not sure if he's even all that healthy. Only played 23 minutes.
Yeah, the minutes have been very sporadic with him lately. He had 35, 20, and 30, and then 23. So, I mean, if the trend continues, it's going to be an up-minute game, but it's hard to predict with Mike Malone.
Yeah, I think so. I think Fareed and Gallinari are kind of your safer front court options.
Yep, him, Gallner, and then you got the backcourt as well.
Yeah, definitely. MKG is probably the cheapest guy that I'm looking at, small forward. Good spot against Portland. I definitely don't mind using him. He's been pretty consistent. I mean, over his last 5 games, averaging right around 28 fantasy points per game.
Same here. There's really not much to love at this position. Nothing really on the cheap end that really catches my eye. But this is a game that kind of fits MKG's style. He likes those fast-paced games where he can rack up, the peripheral stats, a couple steals here and there, maybe get a double-double. So, and his price is only 5,500, but he's got 40-point upside.
Yeah, he does. And a guy that you brought up to the table, Evan Turner, has been playing bigger minutes of late, over 30 in his last 5 games. And this is a guy who, hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, he hasn't been bad. He's just very shot dependent. The assists have been up a little bit. If he can get you maybe, 20 points and 5 assists, that'd be a nice upside game from him.
Yeah, definitely. Shot 17 times last game. I don't think we'll see that again.
I don't think so either.
Outside of that, though, I mean, I don't see myself really going any cheaper. A lot of these guys are just kind of, low-end plays at this point. We probably won't cut it on tonight's slate.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a shot with Sam Decker if you think that game's going to blow out, but that's nothing but a tournament dart.
Yeah, definitely. Power forward, and, I was bitching and complaining earlier. Anthony Davis not power forward eligible on DK anymore, but you do have DeMarcus Cousins there. You do have Melo there who is power forward eligible.
Yeah, Davis, that's kind of crazy on DraftKings. He's just a center, but I like him on FanDuel. I like him on both sides, actually, because you could play 2 centers on DraftKings. But he's only 11-2. He's the cheapest out of, the studs. He's cheaper than Boogie. He's cheaper than Westbrook. He's cheaper than Harden, and he brings the same upside. And Toronto, they haven't really been that great at defending power forwards this year either.
No, I like him quite a bit tonight, and he's a guy I won't use in cash games. But GPPs, as you said it, he has that potential to be one of the higher scoring guys on the night, and a decent matchup too.
Yeah, the only couple problems with him is there's his home road splits, which we touched on before, but they've been going back to normal. They've kind of been evening each other out lately, so it's only down to like 8 points now, the difference. And then he also can get injured tying his shoe.
Yeah, that's always the thing. And he has a weird thing. He's never played Toronto in like his entire career.
Yeah, so, I mean, this could be the night that he goes off. It could be a night that he trips getting out of his chair. You never know.
I think my second favorite power forward on the slate, though, is Kenneth Faried. I mean, I love his DraftKings price. I don't mind it on FanDuel either, but 5,400 for a guy who, saw a tick up in minutes with, Jokic out, played 37. Always been kind of a high energy guy. I mean, if you see him 30-plus minutes again, I'm all over him.
I'm all over him too. Like we've been saying, if you guys don't get it now, we love this game tonight. But he's 6,600 on FanDuel. That price is his highest that I've pretty much ever seen on Fareed these last this season at least. And I figured out when Jokic is out, when he's not on the floor, they play small ball. So they put Gallinari at the 4 and they put Fareed at the 5. And him at the 5, he's going to be against Zubac and Tariq Black right there. And that's not a really intimidating front court of the Lakers.
No, definitely not. I mean, as much as we like Zubac coming into tonight, we're not praising him for his, defensive presence on the floor.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I mean, power forward just obviously Randall out. Markieff Morris is an okay play at the price tag. It's not as great as it was maybe a week or 2 ago, but I don't mind him just because there is a lack of options in that range.
I don't mind him either, and he does have 50 fantasy point upside. His price is up on FanDuel at 6,900, but I still have a little bit of interest.
Yeah, and Ryan Anderson's another one I don't mind taking kind of a cheap shot with. Finally had his first good game in a while, last time out against Indy. And is a guy, obviously, a decent matchup here against the Kings.
Yeah, he gets a lot of minutes. It just matters if he's hitting his threes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we don't usually see a ton of peripheral stats. Outside of that, though, I mean, Julius Randle, Larry Nance is a guy who can get some minutes as well.
Yeah, he can get a little bit of run. He's a tournament-only play because the minutes are a little unpredictable. And he's been coming on and off injuries like crazy this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he played 23 minutes with Randall out last time, did run into some foul trouble against Utah, but pretty tough matchup against that front court.
Yeah, and then one last guy I want to mention is Marvin Williams. If Cody Zeller's out, even if he's in, I mean, he'll still see 25 to 30 minutes. And in this fast-paced game against Portland, it could be a spot where he could really have a good game.
Yeah, I mean, he put up 27 fantasy points in 23 minutes last time out against Portland. I mean, if he can get anything close to 30 minutes, he'll be a solid value.
Yep.
So, moving over to center tonight, and we were talking earlier about the Kings and their schedule that got kind of shifted up because that canceled game back in whatever it was, December, November. I'm a little worried about Cousins, but this dude's been an absolute monster.
Oh yeah, he's been great. 4 games over 60 points, 60 fantasy points out of his last 6. He's priced at 11,400, which is a pretty good price for him. It cuts it down his upside a little bit. But even if he gets 60 fantasy points, like that's great. It's great at his price.
And Houston's really been struggling against centers, and especially guys that are mobile like Cousins. I mean, he should really eat as long as he's kind of not feeling the lingering effects of basically 4 or 5 games in 6 days.
Yeah, the thing is with him is he's a guy that gets up for those big games. This is a big game. And so if it's staying close, it's going to be Boogie carrying him the way.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, outside of that, there aren't really a lot of centers to pay up for. I mean, you have Davis and Cousins, but outside of that, I mean, Plumlee has a big price tag jump on FanDuel, but I don't mind him just because there isn't really that many options.
I don't mind him either. Charlotte, they give up some big games to centers too here and there. He's pretty much a guaranteed double-double on this one, and if if you get lucky, he can score 20 points, but it's a lot to ask for from him.
Definitely, and this is a guy who usually flirts with around 4 to 5 assists per game and can rack up even higher. So, he does get those peripheral stats as well.
Yeah, he's just priced a little high. I mean, I don't mind him for tournaments at his price, but cash, it's a little too much. There's better values.
Yeah, definitely. And another guy I don't mind, we're seeing Gortat. I mean, averaging over 30 DK points in the last 5. I'm looking more on him on centers, but this is a guy averaging 14 and 10 against the Knicks this year. They've been bad against centers. 5,800. I can't really get away from him if you're kind of going cheaper at center.
Yeah, he's a great player over on DraftKings. FanDuel, not so much at 6,500, but DraftKings, he's guaranteed double-double at 5,800. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And then should we drop the bomb here?
It's your guy, so I'll let you talk.
We both were equally excited about him, but Zubac, this is a guy who's played really well over his last 2 games, 30-plus DK points in both of them, 26 and 28 minutes. No Randall, so obviously another big body out there. He's been impressed from Walton as well. And then he led that huge run against Denver a few games ago. I mean, he was the guy off the bench who was really that high-energy guy. So 3,500 on DK, I mean, he's 39 on FanDuel.
Yep.
I'm firing away.
Yeah, he's probably the best value on the night. Whenever you get a cheap point guard and cheap center filling in, they're typically the best values of the night. Probably going to come in pretty chalky, maybe the highest on center, but it could be something that you just might have to eat. Otherwise, you're just going to lose if you don't have him.
I think so. I mean, he could be like last night's Yogi.
It could be.
So, I mean, and Yogi wasn't even really crazy high owned, but,
yeah, he's actually,
as the day goes on, could be.
Yogi, I was actually surprised at his ownership. He was only 13% in FanDuel last night, and I was shocked. So Zubac, I could see him, I don't know, maybe on FanDuel, 20%. DraftKings a little higher because you'd roster 2 centers. But, I mean, he's just a great player tonight all around.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I'll be using quite a bit of him. And you can kind of pair him with, those high expensive options, which that just makes it all the more attractive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, my boy, Hernan Gomez, he has fallen out of the rotation.
So the funny thing, it was just on the day that you were probably the absolute highest. Like the trend was just going upwards for you, and then all of a sudden just comes crashing down.
Like that girlfriend that leads you on and then just ditches you at the door.
Except in this case, it's a 7-foot center.
Yep. Oh well.
Anyone else you want to touch on at center?
That's it. You could take a shot on Nurkic, but like I said, I think they're going small ball.
Yeah, I can't see him really being of use on this one. And, against the Lakers, they are a little bit smaller side.
Yep.
So that's going to wrap it up. Be sure to check out our cheat sheets and our great tools and content. And good luck tonight.
Yeah, good luck. Let's win some money.